Maple Leafs 1, the Boston Bruins nothing. Toronto outshot Boston the first period 11-8, and now here's Brian with the out-of-town scores.
Well, Bill, Pittsburgh playing at Montreal tonight. Pittsburgh leading Montreal 3-2 at the 18:31 mark of the first period.
Toronto Maple Leafs for 1 second had a man advantage, and now the Bruins return to full strength. They shoot the puck into the Leaf zone. A back pass in front, intended for Tommy Williams, number 11, to Green. There's the shot. Gamble stopped at the rebound, right in front. Oh, and Esposito just failed to put it in the open net. Back down the right wing for Ellis. Over the line. There's the higher drive, and that hit Cheevers. And bounced off the glass. A very close call around the Leaf goal, as the Bruins did everything but tie up the game. Esposito again coming in with Cashman. A pass over here to Orr. A shot. Gamble stopped that. Here's Cashman again, centering it out in front. It comes back to the blue line. Green fakes a shot. Walton gets a break. One man back. Green trying to catch him. Walton shoots, and he shot that one high over the glass.
Well, that was quite a play by Phil Esposito, and we'll watch it on the replay now as he pushes that puck right across the goal line. Watch closely now as Esposito, number 7, gets it. Gamble is down. There it is. He goes to tip it right in the net. Player coming in for the rebound, but a split second too late. Otherwise, the Bruins would have tied this game up. Esposito shaking his head over that one.
Toronto 1, Boston nothing. The puck is cleared back into the Leaf zone, and it's Rupp after it, followed by Stanfield, 17 of Boston. Rupp a pass to Keon. He's over the line with Oliver. Keon just failed to relay it to him. It shot off the boards past Pronovo, and Rupp is there at center. Shooting it to the blue line, stopped by McKenzie, up to Stanfield. Pronovo trying to cover him. Stanfield centering it for McKenzie. A shot. Here's Busick a drive, and he fired wide. Pronovo wrapped the rebound into the corner. Bruins coming awfully close. Long pass to Oliver. Oliver for Conacher. Into the corner. He centered it. A jam there. Dope underneath. Smith of Boston. Up to McKenzie. Stopped by Oliver. Oliver over the line. Lets the shot go. That hit Dope. To Keon. Back to Pronovo. There's his shot, and Doak is there again. A nice play by the Boston defenseman.
A lot of scoring in that first period at Montreal tonight. Bathgate from Fontaine and Boyven opening in for Pittsburgh at 3:59. Then McCreary from McNeil and Connick at 9:33. Beliveau scored his 28th of the year from Cournoyer and Jules Tremblay at 10:59. Ferguson from Provo and Richard at 16:31. Then McDonald from Boyven and Fontaine at 18:31. Pittsburgh 3, Montreal 2, first period.
17:58 remaining in the second period. Toronto is leading 1-0. The puck is in the Boston zone. Ullman out there with Henderson and Smith. Sather on the forward line with Westfall and Craig for the Bruins. Pellick, number 21 of the Leafs, into the corner to Floyd Smith. Ahead to Ullman. Ullman up the ice with Pellick. A long shot that bounces to Cheevers. His backhand into the corner. Westfall checked by Henderson. Henderson back in the net. Centered it for Ullman, and a grab by Cheevers in the goal crease.
Well, this is the best game we've seen Paul Henderson play for the Leafs. And he very nearly set up Ullman for a goal on that play. Watch him behind the net with the helmet, tipping it right out in front. Ullman has it, but Cheevers grabs it with his hand.
Leafs have every man inside the blue line. The referee is Art Skov. The linesmen are Neil Armstrong and Brent Castleman. We've had a total of 5 penalties so far, 3 to the Leafs and 2 to Boston. Henderson dumped the Bruin player Green. He's going to get a penalty. The puck is in the Leaf zone, picked off by Floyd Smith. Play is called. Henderson likely for tripping. That's the first penalty of the second period, and the 4th to the Maple Leafs. The only scoring play in the game was Smith from Ullman and Pronovo at 13:35 of the first period, his 21st of the year.
Toronto penalty to number 19, Henderson. 2 minutes for tripping. The time, 2:50.
2:50, and there you see the time, 17:10 remaining in this second period. So Boston Bruins have a man advantage, and every time they've had the man advantage, they've really put the pressure on the Maple Leafs. But they have been unable to penetrate Bruce Gamble. And they have the regular power play out with Esposito, Murphy, along with, there's a shot by Green to Hodge, and also Stanfield. A shot down the ice to center. Stanfield. A pass over on the wing to Esposito. Esposito, a back pass to Green. Leafs are using Pulford and Oliver to kill off the penalty. A long shot. Gamble grabbed it. Oliver back of the net. Juggles it on a skate. Pokes it to Stanley. He in turn was partially blocked. It comes back to Stanfield. There's a shot right in front. Horton took a whack at it. Stanfield kept it in. Hodge centered it. Esposito took a whack at it. Pulford stripped. Horton races down the ice with Oliver. One man back, the two of them going in together. Oliver to Horton. And he shot wide. Another shot, and Cheevers grabs it, and here's a penalty to Esposito.
Another penalty now. As the Leafs came close on Cheevers. That's the way it's been.
Boston penalty to number 7, Esposito. 2 minutes for tripping. The time, 3:40.
3:40, 16:20 remaining in the second period. Teams now play 5 aside. Fulford, Ellis, Rupp, and Pronovo. Stanfield, Orr, Green, and Hodge for the Bruins. Puck is in the Boston zone. And it's Green back of the net. Shot it up on the right wing to Hodge. Hodge at center ice over the red line. Takes his shot. It's high into the corner. Fulford back of the net. Hodge skates him off, but he fed it to Ellis. With Fulford, who takes the pass over the line. Fulford with the backhand, and that was nicely stopped by Cheevers as Fulford fell into the boards.
Well, Bob Fulford has been skating hard tonight. He was skating hard in practice yesterday, and he took the rap along with Mike Walton for some lackadaisical effort in St. Louis the other night.
Fulford gets relief, and Keon comes out to play with Ellis. It's Busick with Stanfield as Ellis took a hard shot, and that was stopped by Cheevers. Puck is dropped. It goes into the corner, picked up by Orr. Orr down the right wing to his own blue line at center. Got the puck off the boards into the corner. Back of the Maple Leaf goal it goes. Ellis flipped it. Orr took out 2 Leaf players. And Ellis gets in front of Stanfield, but Stanfield makes sure of it and holds the puck against the boards, and we'll have a face-off. This time in the Leaf zone. To the right of Gamble.
Don Orr surely showed a fine burst of speed to carry that puck into the Leaf zone. Now the Leafs are making a change.
The way to change by both teams at the moment. We have Stanfield, McKenzie, Green, and Orr's gone over to get a new stick. Smith, Ullman, Horton, and Hillman for the Toronto Maple Leafs. Puck goes back to Ullman. Ullman back of the Maple Leafs goal in his own zone. A pass over to Horton was too high. Horton got the rebound off the boards up to Ullman. Red Smith over the line. Smith still has it to Hillman. Hillman feeds it to Horton. Horton lets the shot go, and Cheevers stopped it. The rebound came all the way back out. Here's Smith right in front of the net. A shot, and a nice save by Cheevers as Henderson returns. Ullman takes a shot. Smith deflected it, and another great save by Cheevers.
Well, Cheevers had to be very sharp there as Smith and Ullman kept that puck in. Here's Ullman trapping it on the board. Smith taking up perfect position in front, trying to tip home that pass. But Cheevers is able to smother the loose puck. This trio from Detroit has certainly become heavy favorites here in Toronto since moving over from the Motor City.
Toronto 1, Boston nothing. Ullman gets the draw to Smith, back to Hillman, but it's tipped out by number 14, Glenn Seether. Knocking it back to his own blue line. Doak to Dallas Smith. Lloyd Smith tried to cover him and shot down to the Leafs blue line. The Leafs still have a man advantage here now with Esposito in the penalty box. He has 17 seconds. Ullman covered by Doak. Henderson flipping it up for Smith. Back to Horton, and it was tipped down the ice. Leaf goes after it for Boston over the blue line. Takes his shot, and he rifled it way wide. Henderson to Ullman. Ullman breaking into the clear, and he's covered from behind. The puck is underneath. There's a shot by Henderson, and he shot wide, but the whistle had gone. Boston has returned to full strength. Toronto leads Boston 1-0, 14-11 remaining in the second period.
Dave Keon is protesting that the whistle went a little too fast. Now he skates back to position.
Keon with Conacher and Oliver. Comes back to Pronovo. A shot hit a leg and bounces out to center ice. Ruff being watched by Murphy. Conacher gets a chance. Smith has him covered. Cashman goes back for Boston. In his own zone. A pass right on the Keon's stick. Keon is given a bump. Conacher let one go. Oliver tried to deflect it. Keon is covered by Cashman. A long pass. Appeared for Murphy, closing in. There's the shot. That hit Gamble on the shoulder. Rupp fails to get it out. Smith centers it in front. There's a backhand. And another save by Gamble. And Rupp just scoops it down the ice, and it's rolling. The puck rolls, as you can see, and it goes over the red line, and that's icing.
Now you might say we have a vociferous crowd here tonight. First, Murphy missed against Gamble, catching him on the shoulder, and then Skip Craik wheeled around and fired one that Gamble was able to clear. Bill, the 19th annual Young Canada Week hockey tournament was officially opened last night in Goderich, Ontario, and we have 3 graduates of that tournament playing here at the Gardens tonight. Don Ari and Gerry Doak of the Bruins and Paul Henderson of the Leafs. There are 87 teams entered this year.
The puck is shot near Gamble and knocked it into the corner. Boston Bruins putting on the pressure in the Leaf zone. Fulford shot the puck to center ice. Cleared by Orr, back of the Maple Leaf goal. Gamble left it for Horton, and Horton starts up with his own territory. A long pass to Fulford for Walton. He didn't expect it. Green in ahead of him. Walton tried to steal the puck. Green leads a 4-man rush to center. A foot pass for Tommy Williams. Williams hit the side of the net. Fulford. A long pass for Ellis, too far. Cheevers lets it go. It's over the red line. That'll be icing. From one zone to the other. This game is coming to you from Maple Leaf Gardens in Toronto. From the face-off, the puck is along the boards. Up for Ullman. Ullman's shot is high. Ends up in the corner. Ullman after it. Digs the puck out at the side of the net. Ullman still fighting for it with Henderson. Ullman is dumped by Doak. And there's going to be a penalty for holding Ullman.
Gerry Doak gets the penalty. It's from Goderich, Ontario.
Playing a very solid game on the defense, Brian, stopping an awful lot of shots for Cheevers. Toronto Maple Leafs with a man advantage now have Ullman with Henderson and Smith.
Boston penalty to number
Martin
25,
Boston blue line.
2 minutes for holding. The time 8:12.
8:12 is the time of the holding penalty. Westfall. And a draw with Ullman. Puck is caught in a skate. Play is called. It's Orr, Dallas Smith, Westfall, and Glenn Seaver. Ullman gets it loose to Floyd Smith. Pass it over to Ullman, a shot. There's another shot. That's hot in front of that. Henderson let it go. Another shot. He fires wide. Here's right in front of Smith, a shot. Henderson goes after it, and play is called.
Well, here's one save by Cheevers. Now Henderson tries to swat that backhander wide of the net. Ullman in behind the net. Smith gets a good chance from in front, and they all pile on top of each other. Henderson leading the way. Boy, this line has really been putting the pressure on Gerry Cheevers tonight. Conversely, when the Leafs have a penalty, that group of McKenzie and Busick, Esposito, and Stanfield give Gamble all kinds of trouble.
Green covered by Henderson. Ullman for Hillman to Smith. He centered it right on the Green stick. Green up to Westfall. Got it back to Orr, and Orr shoots it down the ice. Leafs are grouping in their own zone now as Ullman left the ice and Keon came out. Henderson going over the line. Back to Keon. Keon took his shot. Green knocked a rebound into the corner. Goes in front of the net. Shot down the ice. Horton to Hillman. Back to Keon to Byers. Byers over the line for Henderson. Will just fail to reach him. Byers keeping it in. Centering it for Keon. Henderson is on his wrong wing, but he's got the puck in the Boston zone to Horton. His shot is wide. Hillman lets one go. Either covers him. Play is called. 19 seconds left in Doak's penalty. 10:07 remaining in the second period.
Mike Byers up for the game tonight from Tulsa, where he scored 13 goals. There he is, number 24. He was a star with the Toronto Marlboros and a promising Leaf of the future, replacing Wayne Carlton. It was discovered that Carlton had a chipped bone in his wrist, and the wrist was placed in a cast, so he'll be out for the rest of the year. Bobby Orr, of course, not playing for Boston tonight. Neither is Derek Sanderson nor Eddie Shack.
Toronto 1, Boston nothing. 15 seconds left in the penalty to Doak. Johnny McKenzie gets the puck up to center ice. Stanley covering Westfall, and they hold it right in front of the penalty box.
Shack has one game to serve in that suspension for getting involved in that fracas with Larry Zeidel. Sanderson recuperating from a deep gash around the eye that required multiple stitches.
Stanley shoots the puck down the ice into the Boston zone. Over the red line it goes, and that'll be icing. And it comes just as Boston returns to full strength.
Now Montreal has taken the lead at the Forum over Pittsburgh. Cournoyer from Harper and Gilles Tremblay at 8:32 of the second period. King Clancy will be a guest of Hockey Night in Canada during our next intermission. It's always lively when His Highness is on.
Right. Walton for Ellis hit the back of his skate. Busick to Dallas Smith, a long shot that bounced to Gamble. That's Marcel Pronovo to Fulford. Fulford right on a Busick's glove, and his pass intended for McKenzie. Fulford covered. Fulford for Walton. At center, over the line, tried to feed Ellis, and it was broken up by Dallas Smith. Back for Stanfield. He takes his shot, and ooh, that drive was just off the target. Mike Walton feeds Fulford. Fulford takes his shot. Let a weak one go. The Cheevers stopped, steered it right to Walton. Walton centered it again. Yusik, a back pass for Stanfield, right onto Marcel Pronovo's stick. Over for Fulford. For Walton, he's closing in with a shot, and Cheevers grabbed that one as it bounced off his pad.
We'll take another look at that as Fulford and Walton, along with Ellis, is showing lots of skate tonight. I think Cheevers for a minute thought he might be caught with another of those ricochet blooper shots. Here's Walton's shot. Watch Cheevers make the save high in the air, but this one he grabs with the glove. That one he saw, unlike the one that Smith scored on in the first period.
Toronto 1, Boston nothing. 8:22 remaining in this second period. On the faceoff, it's Henderson to Smith. For Ullman. It's inside the Boston blue line. Hodge gets it up to Williams. Williams at the Leaf blue line and over, gets his shot, and it deflects off Pellick's stick. It's shot out in front of the net. Here's a chance, and Ullman steals it. Ullman, where's Smith? Up for Smith. They're closing in. Smith shoots. And he shot wide. Centered it out again, and Ullman got a shot, and Cheevers decides this time to hang on to it.
There's Normie Ullman, who was given number 9 when he came over to the Leafs from Detroit.
And they draw. There's a drive by Horton that was right on. Cheevers stopped it. A quick pass ahead to center ice to Skip Frick. Over for Cashman. Skated off by Pellick. Smith tried to hold it against the boards, and Henderson comes up with it down the left wing. Flips one that Cheevers grabs. The Leafs change players on the go. Oliver Conacher and Keon out there now for the Maple Leafs. Craig takes a long shot off the boards. The rebound for Keon. He let it go. Oliver with him. And Pellick goes down the left wing. Missed the check from Murphy, but Murphy checked him and got the puck near the Leaf goal. Horton up to Keon. Shot it off the board. Cheevers took the rebound, knocking it into the corner. Cashman at Boston starts down the ice to center. Long shot. Gamble grabbed it. Pronovo shoots it to the blue line and out. Doak hit Oliver. Cashman feeds Craig. Back for Cashman into the corner. Back of the net for Pronovo. Oliver is dumped. Conacher tried to feed Keon. He just shot it down the ice. Doak goes back for it. Conacher trying to center it for Oliver. Boston come back. Murphy at center. McKenzie on his right. McKenzie took the pass, goes to the corner, centered it right across the goal mouth. It's loose in front for Stanfield. He shot another shot, and Gamble's got it in the goal crease.
And somebody's lost the glove down there. Bruce Gamble making the save here as we watch the Bruins swarm in again. Right across the goal crease. Here's the shot. Coming up. They jam in front of Gamble, but he's able to hold it out.
And they face off. The puck goes all over the blue line, and it's Orr to Green. Knocked in by Busick. Fulford. Mike Walton. A long pass for Ellis. He's in the clear. Throws him right on goal. He shoots it goal.
A brilliant play by Ron Ellis. And it It's 2-0. We'll watch it again on the replay. Watch Cheevers' stick very closely as Ellis takes this pass from Fulford. Watch Cheevers move the stick over to the side, and Ellis, there goes the stick. Ellis
Toronto
has the upper
goal
corner.
scored by number 8,
Cheevers
Ellis.
thought he might go the other way.
Assist number 20, Fulford. The time, 14:25.
Toronto 2, Boston nothing. Horton to Stanley. To Fulford. He takes a hard drive, and Cheevers steered that into the crowd. 5 minutes and 25 seconds left.
I'm sure Cheevers thought he was going to go the other way, Bill. There's the out-of-town scoreboard. Detroit at St. Louis. Gary Jarrett from Prentice and Peter Mahovlich at 3:42. Then Plager from Crisp and St. Marci at 4:46. 1-1 tie.
Yes, Brian, it appears as if he's trying to draw him to that side. Comes back to Stanley, a shot right in front. Ellis takes a try, another one. Walton taking a whack at it. So is Ellis. It comes loose. Ellis still fighting for it. It comes back to Stanley, a shot. Cheevers has got it. And there will be a penalty, I believe, to the Bruins. Bill Esposito likely for hooking.
This fellow's had a wonderful year in the NHL. 31 goals. Very few Bruins of the present or the past have ever hit the 30 mark or better.
Boston penalty to number 7, Esposito. 2 minutes for holding. The time, 14:51.
14:51. The official is holding.
Now Gordie Howe has scored for Detroit from Unger and Bergman at 7:12. So it's Detroit 2, St. Louis 1.
It's Toronto 2, Boston nothing. 5:09 remaining to play in the second period. Leafs with a man advantage. Henderson, Smith, and Ullman. It's chopped out over the blue line. Sather races after it. Horton goes back for it. Leafs playing 6 men to 5. A pass for Ullman. Ullman shot it over the line. Westfall fell. Ullman to Horton. Over to Hillman. He took his shot. Henderson tried to center it. Cheevers decides to grab it and force a face-off.
Well, there's that left wrist of Wayne Carlton along with King Clancy, and you can just see George Armstrong in there, too.
Back of the Boston goal for Green. Ullman gets it loose to Henderson. Henderson coming out in front with a shot. Ullman back to Hillman for Henderson. Henderson centered it out in front. Smith to Horton. Back to Smith. Into Ullman. Back to Horton. There's the shot. Henderson took a whack at it, and Cheevers made the save.
Appears to be. No, he's all right. He's just taking a rest, I guess. But Henderson really jammed in front as we watch it. There's Smith setting up the play. He'll put it into Ullman's stick and then right back to the point. There's the shot. Now watch Henderson move in front and jab away at the puck. And Cheevers goes back into the Boston cage, but he's up on his feet and he's all right. For a moment, we thought he might have been injured.
3 minutes and 54 seconds remaining in the second period. Toronto 2, Boston nothing. Ellis's goal was his 23rd of the season. Keon gets it back to Horton. Horton over for Hillman. He flips one that bounces near the front of the net. Planniker gets a hold of it, a weak backhand, and it's covered up by Gary Doak. But he didn't put his hand on the puck. He just covered it with his body. Keon, Conacher, and Oliver, with Hillman and Horton. Horton failed to keep the puck in. Westfall hooked it right onto Conacher's stick. Conacher put it on Crake's stick, and Crake of Boston gets it back into his own zone, where it's finally shot down the ice by Dallas Smith. Phil Esposito has 7 seconds left in his penalty. Conacher to Keon. Shoots it back of the net. Craig shot it around on the board. Stopped by Hillman. There's the shot. It hit a skate. It's a quick pass to Esposito. He's in the clear, going in on goal. And he was grabbed by Horton. And there's going to be a penalty there.
Esposito wants a penalty shot. He sneaked out of the penalty box and took that pass in full flight. Went right in on Gamble.
This game is coming to you from Maple Leaf Gardens in Toronto.
Well, they rule that Horton is caught for holding. They felt that Esposito did not have a clear path to the goal. Well, he squawked about a penalty shot. We've seen a couple of them here in the past few days.
2:55 remaining in this second period as Marcel Pronovo really rifled the puck down the ice. Stanfield back of the goal with Esposito, McKenzie, Green, and Busick. Esposito takes the pass. Back of the goal he goes. There's 3 out in front. Goes back to Green. There's the shot that caroms high and just short of the end blue. This game is coming to you from Maple Leaf Gardens in Toronto.
Very unusual for a player to have 2 penalty shots in 2 straight games, Bill, like Walton did here in Toronto and then again the next afternoon in Chicago last week.
Rupp shot the puck down the ice to center. It ends up at the Boston blue line where Stanfield feeds it to Green. Boston with a man advantage, trailing 2-0. Esposito over on the right side for McKenzie, stopped by Pronovo. Pronovo shot it out. Holford races after it, and he's up there to get away. Stanfield, a long pass for Busick, offside. The pass originated from inside his own blue line. He took it over the checkered line at center.
There's Johnny Busick, closing in on the 250 goal mark.
Esposito in his own zone now, trying to get a power play organized. Left it for Stanfield. 54 seconds left in Horton's penalty. Puck goes over the line. It's shot out again, and Green trapped it with his glove. Waits for his teammates to get on side. Goes over himself. McKenzie tries to feed Busick. Oliver falls on top of it. He didn't know he'd missed it. And it was cleared by the Leaf defense down the ice. 32 seconds left in the penalty to Horton. Up the ice comes McKenzie. Over the line for Busick. He's checked. Oliver feeds Conacher up at center, and he has it at the blue line. Goes over, rags the puck, then shot it into the corner and then took a hefty check from Busick.
Last minute of play in this period.
Busick to Green. Up to Esposito. Horton is back out. Esposito waits as his teammates are changing. A pass to Busick. Shot ends up on the far wing. Conacher just wraps it down the ice. And that will be icing with 34 seconds remaining in the second period, and Toronto leading Boston 2-0.
Well, this week is National Health Week. Help the Health League of Canada help you to good health. Send a donation to the Health League of Canada, 111 Avenue Road in Toronto.
Boston Bruins are playing every man up. Westfall with Williams and Hodge. It comes back to Doak. The shot partially stopped by Henderson. Gamble had to make a save as Westfall fenced. There's Williams shooting wide into the corner. Came out in front. Ullman to Smith. Wraps it down the boards, and Doak picks it up with 18 seconds. Over to Hodge. For Williams. Covered by Horton. Smith. Up to center. It's stopped there by Westfall. Westfall with a second remaining to Hodge, and there goes the bell to end the second period. So the Leafs leading 2-0. Ellis getting the second goal of the game in the second period from Pulford at 14:25, his 23rd of the year. Floyd Smith scoring in the first. From Maple Leaf Gardens in Toronto, Hockey Night in Canada.
Well, the Toronto Maple Leafs got one goal in that second period, a goal by Ronnie Ellis, his 23rd of the year, from Bob Pulford, and it was a great pass from Pulford and a scintillating shot off the stick of Ron Ellis to beat Gerry Cheevers at 14:25. And here it is again as we watch a highlight of that second period of play. Number 8, Ron Ellis, getting in the clear. You'll see Cheevers pull the stick over, and Ellis will drill it into the corner. There it is.
After 2 periods of play, it's the Toronto Maple Leafs 2 and the Boston Bruins nothing. Getting set to start this final period now with the Bruins at the north end of my left and the Leafs in their dark blue uniforms at the south end to the right. Canfield at center ice for the Bruins with Busick on the left wing and McKenzie on the right. Orr and Green on the defense. Keon, Conacher, and Oliver. Canfield's got his shot. That was off the target. Oliver chops it down the ice, and that's going to be icing.
Well, Montreal leading Pittsburgh at the Forum in Montreal 4-3. That's at the end of the second period. And Detroit out in front of St. Louis by a score of 2-1. Los Angeles at Minnesota tonight. It's scoreless at the end of the first period of play and a late starter at Minnesota.
On the draw, long shot was wide of the net. McKenzie shot it in front of the goal. It goes near the goal crease, and Keon feeds Conacher. Conacher down the right wing. Tried to go around. Orr he did, but Oliver's offside. Toronto outshot Boston in the second period 17-11 and 11-8 in the first period. The referee is Art Skov. The linesmen are Neil Armstrong and Brent Castleman. Smith got his 21st from Ullman and Pronovo at 13:35 of the first period. Ellis is 23rd from Pulford at 14:25. There's been 10 penalties in the game so far, 5 apiece. 5 in each period. Keon shoots the puck into the Boston zone. Going back for it is Green. And that's icing called against the Maple Leafs as it was shot from the Leaf side of center.
Well, I mentioned very few Boston players have scored 30 or more goals in a season. Johnny Busick has 30 this year. I think I mentioned he was closing in on 250. That should be 260. Esposito has 31. Others to go over that in the past few years, of course, Bronco Horvath with 1.
Shot by Green ends up on Conacher's stick and bats it ahead to Oliver. Oliver, Keon, and Conacher at center ice. Over the line to Conacher. Conacher centered it, and Keon just failed to poke it, as he was too well covered by that very tight Boston defense. Conacher gets a chance from the corner in the Boston zone. He was hit high by Orr, who certainly can hammer when he wants to. Pellick covering at center ice for the Maple Leafs. The pass to Henderson, who's out there now as the Leafs change players. Ullman and Floyd Smith come out on the forward line as well. Pronovo on the defense, who feeds Henderson. He's got it into the Boston zone, or he gets the rebound. Drake shot it around on the boards. Henderson trapped it, but couldn't center. He turned around. Ullman tried to steal it. Smith did. Ullman missed it a second time. Green's pass, and there is finally Ullman picking it up, shooting it off the board. Flipped it to the blue line. Nearly got loose. Drake of Boston. The saver on his left takes the long shot wide of the Leafs net, and Pronovo gets it. Pronovo flipped it to the blue line to center ice. Race very fast. A long shot way outside is from Sather. 17:50 remaining in the game. Toronto 2, Boston nothing.
Now Pittsburgh has scored, Andrea, at 57 seconds of the third period to tie that game once more at the Forum. Pittsburgh 4, Montreal 4.
Eddie Westfall back to Dallas Smith, stopped by Henderson. Now it's Floyd Smith. Over the line to Westfall. There's the shot. He just missed the target. Hellman covered his man, but Smith gets the shot away. Sather centered it right onto Henderson's stick. Floyd Smith down the right wing. Hellman behind him. Smith took his shot off. That's Dallas Smith's stick. Back of the net. Smith for Westfall at his own blue line. Up to Sather. Missed a body check from Pronovo. Shot it into the lead zone. Break took Floyd Smith to the boards. It's knocked back to the blue line. Dallas Smith has shot. Sather lets go with a rebound in front of the net, but it was weak and wide. Westfall shot it wide. Sather centers it again to Westfall a shot. Oh, and that was stopped by Pronovo after it got underneath Gamble. Smith touches it for Boston, and the Bruins do everything but get on the score sheet.
Well, we'll see it again as Gamble had to be very sharp, and Pronovo even sharper to clear that puck. There's Sather in the corner. Now, watch Pronovo as Gamble is way out of the net. Pronovo very alertly clears it down the ice.
16 minutes and 45 seconds remaining to play in the hockey game. Toronto 2 and Boston nothing. There's a shot by Green. Gamble hit him on the shoulder. Back of the net for Ellis in the corner. Stanley shot it around on the board. Hodge intercepted. Stanley then trapped it, lost it to Hodge. Hodge lost control. Stanley covered him, but Hodge knocked him down. Play is called. It was batted by Stanley. Ahead to Ellis. Now, had he put his hand over top of the puck and grabbed it, Brian, that would have been a penalty. But he batted it with his glove. Back to Orr, a shot deflected right on Gamble. And the Bruins are coming awfully close. This game is coming to you from Maple Leaf Gardens in Toronto. Oliver brings the puck out of his own zone with Conacher. It's into the Boston zone. Orr knocks Conacher down. Long pass for McKenzie over the blue line. A pass just failed to reach Stanfield. Pellick for Oliver. He lost it. Jusic centered it. Horton. Up for Oliver. Stopped by Orr, right onto Horton's stick. Horton ran into Conacher. And the puck goes back into the Boston zone. The play gets a little bit sloppy. Now then it's Green coming up to center ice. Over the line. Pellick ran into Green. Horton has Jusic lying down on the ice, and Pellick knocks it down the left wing as Keon races after it. Orr tried to check Keon. He did. Oliver was knocked down back of the Leafs goal at the other end of the rink. And Green starts back for Boston. Henderson covers McKenzie. Green over to Orr. He hits Pellick. Checking, getting pretty close. Green lets a hard one go. Sather races after it. Ullman's on the ice. He feeds Horton. Up for Henderson. Over the line. Henderson stops. Back to Smith. And the shot was stopped by Gerry Doak. And there he is again, acting as Bobby Goldham and the second goalkeeper for the Boston Bruins.
Oh, Bob Goldham will be happy to hear you say that. Montreal 5, Pittsburgh 4. Harper from Ferguson and Cournoyer at 5:01 of the third period.
14:44 remaining in this hockey game. Toronto 2, Boston nothing. Dallas Smith up to Westfall. Ullman batted it with his glove. Westfall has possession to Dallas Smith. The Duke on the right side. He gets over the red line, shoots into the lead zone, and that is back of the goal for Floyd Smith. Floyd Smith, a drop pass to Marcel Pronovo. Up for Floyd Smith. He didn't control it. It's going down the ice over the red line. And that is icing.
The Bruins don't have Bobby Orr out there tonight, but they have young Barry Gibbs dressed and ready for action. Where's number 24 for Boston? Played with Estevan juniors out there in Western Canada and is very highly rated by Milt Schmidt and Harry Sinden. At Oklahoma City, though.
Thanks, Brian. We have the linesman over picking up some papers that fell over the boards near the Maple Leaf bench. Johnny Bauer. Ready to go in the lead zone. The pass over on the far wing. Dallas Smith kept it in. Shot it around back of the net. Breaks out the Bruins to Westfall. Here comes the Doak. He shot it into the corner and ends up back of the goal again. Marcel Pronovo for Floyd Smith. He tried a quick opening pass for Henderson, but it was kept in there by Cashman, and it's knocked out finally by the Leafs down the ice. Ackman's going right to the net. Doak back of the goal. The Bruins are definitely carrying the play to the Maple Leafs at this point, trailing 2-0, and trying to break the goose egg. Henderson with Ullman. They shoot it into the Boston zone. Doak goes to the boards. Ullman holds it there. He's given a shove. Getting into the middle of it was Skip Craik.
Craik and Ullman were the ones that started this. When Craik bodied Ullman, the gloves went off and the fist started to go along with the elbows. Not too much is going to come of this, I don't believe. Number 4 is Dwayne Rupp. He's in there. Floyd Smith is 17. Horton, number 7. An outbreak has been threatening ever since the first period when the boys started to throw their weight around. We'll see if there are penalties called here. The referee tonight is Art Stove, the linesman Neil Armstrong, and Brent Castleman. About 30 goal scorers a moment ago for the Bruins, Bill. A lot of the old-timers will remember the year that Cooney Weiland scored 43 for Boston. Dick Clapper had 41 one season. Horvath had 2 pretty good years, 39 goals and 30 goals. Herb Kane had 36, 32. McKenney, Don McKenney, that is, 32. Riel Chevrofies once scored 31. Bill Cowley and Bobby Bauer had 30 apiece for Boston. This year we've got Esposito with 31, Busick 30, and Johnny McKenzie could make it with 26.
I don't believe that, Brian, as you mentioned, that there's any penalties because they really didn't get a chance to go after each other, and actually everybody was acting as a peacemaker. Started off with Craik and Ullman and ended up with Smith and Ullman with Rupp handling him. Then there's a shot by Horton right from the face-off, and it's back at center ice. That's Cashman, number 12. Skip Craik is 21, and Westfall is 18. Smith and Doak. Cashman's way outside. Pellick turns. The delayed whistle. So he just shoots it down the ice. And where it was going to be just a face-off outside the Leaf blue line, it's going to come back into the circle to the left of Gamble. This game is coming to you from Maple Leaf Gardens in Toronto. Toronto 2, Boston nothing, 12:51 remaining in this hockey game. Walton to Ellis. A quick pass at center ice. Stopped by the Bruins, and they shoot it right back. And they're forechecking the Maple Leafs now in their own zone. Esposito with Murphy and Haas. Cleared down the ice. It's rolling on its edge. The puck rolls over the red line. Foul for icing. Gerry had to take about 2 or 3 swipes at it to finally touch it. Although I believe Ellis would have been offside anyway, Brian, on the play.
Ellis scored a picture goal in the second period, his 23rd from Fulford at 14:25. Smith opened the scoring from Ullman and Pronovo with that blooper shot over Cheevers' back at 13:35.
Walton to Ellis. Fails to get it out. Esposito flips a shot. It's right in front of the net. It goes to Gamble on a deflection. Hard had a great chance as he muscled his way around that Maple Leaf goal.
One of the Plager boys has scored for St. Louis at 22 seconds of the second period, so it's Detroit 2, St. Louis 2.
There's a shot by Hodge, and he hit Murphy with it, and Walton comes up the ice to center. Over the line, going around Orr with a backhand. Orr then took Walton to the boards. Cleared to the blue line and out. Ellis traps it to Walton. Backhand on Cheevers, and it's Ted Green now back of the goal. Green a pass for Orr. Shot by Horton. Walton lost it. Boston cleared it in. It's shot out again. Ken Hodge getting it into the lead zone. Horton went in front of his own net. Shot it off the boards. Orr lets one go, and that's high. And Hodge lets one go high, and that one goes over the glass this time and out of play. 11:26 remaining in the game. Toronto 2, Boston nothing.
Certainly Ken Hodge has been an asset to the Boston Bruins this year with 22 goals, 27 assists. He scored only 10 goals with Chicago last year before coming along in that trade. There he is, a good-looking fella, and Husky, too.
On the face-off, a shot right on. Gamble's got it, he holds it. And you notice sometimes that the referee will blow a whistle faster than others. When he loses sight of the puck that he will blow that whistle. Sometimes you can see it from better angles. It's not anything but visual. Puck is cleared into the lead zone, and it's Pronovo over for Hillman, who shot it down the ice, and that's whistling to the red line and over. Dallas Smith goes back. Touch it, and that is icing again against the Toronto Maple Leafs.
Bobby Orr will be returning before the end of the regular schedule, we understand, to the Boston Bruin lineup, recovering from that cartilage operation. He's already been on skates and could come back at any time.
Here's a chance for Busick, a backhand. Gamble grabbed that one right in the knees of hockey players.
It again as Gamble, who's been extremely sharp in nets all night, stops another one off the stick of Johnny Busick. Here it is, Busick, a neat bit of stick handling, then the hard backhand shot that Gamble's able to glove. Smiley Bates, as some of his teammates call him. Now it's Detroit 3, St. Louis 2, as Frank Mahovlich has scored at 2:17 of the second period from Gordie Howe and Watson.
Westphal got the draw. The puck is in front of the net. Westphal tries again. There's another shot in front. Henderson covers his man. There's going to be a penalty to Henderson. Holding the Boston player as they tried to get it out. And for Paul Henderson, that's his second penalty of the night. And he joins Esposito, who has had 2. So that breaks the tie in penalties. The Leafs now have picked up their 6th. Henderson getting the gate. That's the 11th penalty of the game.
Henderson. 2 minutes for interference.
Interference.
The time, 9:13.
9:13. And now the Bruins will have their opportunity to really put on the heat. That's Esposito, number 7. Johnny McKenzie is 19. Busick 9. Stansfield 17. And Green 6. Here's Clifford intercepting a bad pass. It's shot high over top of the net. Well, the Bruins go back into their own zone and regroup. Esposito Coming down the left wing at center. Shot the puck into the Leaf zone. Gamble stopped it back of the goal. Pulford was squeezed out by McKenzie. It comes back to Stanfield. A shot in front of the net. Stanley knocked his man down. Horton on his knees shoots it down the ice. Toronto 2, Boston nothing. Bruins in their own zone. Green to Busick. Busick up the center. Over for Esposito. Stopped by Stanley off the glass and out. Green pulling away from Pulford. Feeds Esposito. Esposito takes a long shot into the corner for Busick. Oliver off the boards, but not out. Stanfield trapped it. Bruins keep it in. Back of the goal it goes, but Stanley's there. And he's given a rough ride. Esposito covered by Oliver. There it comes out in front, and Pulford has it. And Pulford shoots it down the ice. 38 seconds left in the penalty to Henderson. 9:21 remaining in the game. Stanfield to McKenzie. He left it there. Esposito went over the line. McKenzie was trying to pick up his stick, does. Busick shot it in, but McKenzie couldn't get out in time. This game is coming to you from Maple Leaf Gardens in Toronto.
There's Punch Imlach behind the bench. He celebrated his 50th birthday yesterday. Linesman is Neil Armstrong.
Hillman backhands the puck down the ice. 9 seconds left in Henderson's penalty. Hodge over on the left side to Murphy. Murphy trying to cut in. Hillman took him to the board. Kick loose. Pronovo bumped by Hodge. Keon poked it back of the net. Hodge goes down. They try to center it. Green is up there with it. Back of the Leaf net he goes. He's checked on the first try. Hodge is trying to center it. Keon gets it to the blue line and out. Henderson picks it up, goes down with Smith and Keon. Henderson stops, lost it to Esposito. Henderson took it away from him. Back for Keon. And to Henderson. Back to Pronovo. Over it for Smith. Right, Smith to Hillman. And he puts one right on the net. 7:50 remaining in the game. Hodge, a long shot, wide of Gamble. Ellis wraps it to the blue line and out. Orr covered by Elman. Ellis was checked, a long shot, and Gamble gives it to Pellick. To Horton. Horton has lost the puck to Hodge. He's getting set. Ellis covers in. Pellick back on the left wing. 4 Leafs up at center. Pellick trying to sneak it to Walton. Centered it right in front. Horton from the right wing. Lets the shot go. That goes into the corner. Ellis centered it for Walton off the skate. Shot out to center ice for Esposito. For Hodge. Hodge trying to get his shot. Lets it go. Gamble stopped that. It's right in front of the net, and Walton has it. Walton at center. Over the line. Closing in with a high shot. And Ellis and Doak get into a mix-up here in front of the net. Ellis and Doak. And they're quickly hugging.
Ronnie Ellis very seldom gets into scraps on the ice. He's had only 4 minutes in penalties. The same cannot be said of Gerry Doak, who has 92 minutes. You see them still struggling, and the linesmen trying to separate them. Now they've done so. The Bruins are a heavily penalized team. They have 3 players over the 100-minute mark in penalties. Ted Green, 119 minutes. Johnny McKenzie, 103, and Don Orr, 146. Gerry Doak has 92. Derek Sanderson, not dressed tonight, has 90. So they've taken their share of time in the penalty box. Among the Leafs, the most penalized player is Tim Horton with 72 minutes. There's Barry Gibbs, the youngster we were talking about, up from Oklahoma City, number 24. Played his junior hockey in Estevan, Saskatchewan. Ellis and Doak go to the penalty box.
6 minutes and 39 seconds remaining to play in the game. They'll play 5 aside with Toronto leading Boston 2-0.
Boston penalty to number 25, Doak. 2 minutes for roughing. Toronto penalty to number 8, Ellis. 2 minutes for roughing. The time, 13:21.
13:21. Keon and Conacher out there now. Toronto 2, Boston nothing. Westfall along with Skip Craik for the Bruins. Comes back to Marcel Pronovo. His shot knocked down by Dallas Smith. Skip Craik coming out now for Boston to Smith. Dallas Smith to the leaf line. That's around Pronovo. Stick handles by Rupp. Centered it. Westfall was pushed into the net. And as he went in, he lifted off the pipe.
Might be able to take another look at that, Bill, as we watch the replay here. The Bruins on the attack. See if we can catch a look at Westfall and Pronovo in front of that net, right in front of Gamble. There's Westfall, 18, moving in. Here's the play. Pronovo bodies Westfall. Watch the net come up and off its moorings. Ouch. Westfall dislodges the net. Now they've got it back in place. That's a St. Patrick's Day greeting for you. From a good Irishman, Marcel Pronovo.
Ask the goalkeeper how he covers the angles when it's out of the net. Comes off the post. 6:22 remaining in this hockey game. Keon breaks out with zone with a pass to Conacher. Conacher back to Keon. And it's offside.
St. Louis has tied it up against Detroit, 3-3. Melnick from Berenson and Moore. Dickie Moore at 5:56 of the second period. Looking at Brian Conacher there. He played one of his strongest games of the season, I understand, in St. Louis the other night.
Pronovo shot wide of the Boston net. Dallas Smith. With Canfield now and McKenzie. Smith tried to poke it to McKenzie. Keon got a piece of it. It goes back to Smith. Dallas Smith coming up with a pass for McKenzie. A drop pass for Stanfield. Conacher then feeds Keon. Keon falls. Dallas Smith comes back for Boston over the line. There's Keon again. And Keon just gets it out over the line. Don Ory then to Stanfield to McKenzie. McKenzie took his shot wide. Conacher out over his own blue line to center. Goes over the line, took his shot that went into the corner on the opposite side. Comes up the center ice. Martin then to Fulford. Oliver came over the board. Martin back in the Maple Leaf net. Up to Oliver. And to Fulford with one man back. Fulford over the blue line, took his shot. It's right in front of the net. Another shot. Cheevers made the save. Back for McKenzie. Shot by Fulford. To Ellis, to Horton. Too far for Fulford this time. Long pass for Ellis, who's back on the ice. The teams are at full strength. Oliver to Fulford. Stopped by Hodge. Took a shot there. Esposito right in front. And Disick had it off the end of his stick. Doak moves up. Puck going to Pulford. Up to Walton. With Ellis. Ellis in the clear. Right on goal. And Cheevers hooked it away with his stick. Henderson to Walton to Marcel Pronovost. For Henderson, it went behind him. 3:36 remaining in the game. Esposito. Over the blue line for Hodge. He's checked. Horton for Walton. Doak goes after. Floyd Smith is on the ice. Doak up to center and no further. Henderson intercepts another pass. For Smith too far. Hodge shot it off the board. Marcel Pronovost shoots it right back in again. 2:58 remaining in the game. Toronto 2, Boston nothing. Here comes Dallas Smith. For Hodge, back to Smith. There's 3 of them going in, and it's broken up by Floyd Smith. To Henderson. Henderson going down with Ullman, and it's offside. This game is coming to you from Maple Leaf Gardens in Toronto. 40 remaining in the game. Skip Craik at center ice. And Sather on the left wing. Eddie Westfall on the right. Keon with Conacher and Oliver. Orr shot the puck into the Leaf zone. It's Stanley back of the goal to Keon. Back to Stanley, up to Oliver, over on the right side for Conacher, races after it. Handed it right across the goal mouth. Stanley ran into Skip Craik, kicks it in offside. This game is coming to you from Maple Leaf Gardens in Toronto. Puck is in the Boston zone. Green. Up to center ice for Skip Craik. It goes into the Leaf zone. Stanley holding it there, and we have 1 minute and 53 seconds left. Cheevers is skating around outside the net. Whether he's going to be yanked in favor of a 6th attacker, it's hard to say.
Montreal has beaten Pittsburgh 6-4 at the Forum in Montreal tonight, and Belleville picked up 3 goals with a hat trick from Jill Trombley at 19:50 of the third. I'm not sure whether that was into an empty net. It gives them 30 goals for the year.
Up to center ice comes Freely. Horton a pass for Ellis on the right wing. Orr went to the boards. Ellis fell with him. Goes out on the left wing. Skip Craik gets it to Westfall. Westfall waited too long. Cashman had to come back onside. So Orr shoots it into the Leaf zone. Stanley to Oliver. Up for Ellis. Over the line with Keon. It took the pass, took a shot, and Orr dropped in front of him. Oliver stopped Orr and Craik. Keon after the puck. Westfall got in ahead of him and gives it to Cashman.
Last minute of play in the game.
Got by Henderson. Got it into the Boston zone, and now we have 50 seconds left. Here's Henderson stealing the puck. That one wide from point-blank range. Back up the ice for Smith. He shoots it in. Gamble caught it. Henderson covered by McKenzie. Drags it along the boards. 26 seconds. 27 to be exact. Remaining in the game. Toronto leading 2-0, and Cheevers is coming over to the bench. And this will mean a 6th attacker. There's the time remaining. A very nice close-up, 27 seconds. Cheevers is off the ice. The net is empty at the north end of my left. And the Bruins are going to use 6 attackers. The net empty. Westfall, Busick, McKenzie, Esposito, Stanfield, and Hart. Romney face off, the puck goes loose. Here's the chance for Stanfield. A shot, it ends up in the corner. The Bruins have it all around the net. Knocked down by Esposito's glove, picked up by McKenzie. Back it comes to Stanfield. They send it out in front. Westfall is checked. Smith puts it out to Ullman. He's got an empty net. He's going right down the ice. He shoots, he scores.
Well, the fans always like to see a goal like that, the hometown fans at least, with their team in front. Here's where the Bruins have the pressure on. Smith is over to the board. Smith gets it off the
Toronto
board.
goal scored by number 9, Ullman.
In all alone.
Assist number 17, Smith, and number 19, Henderson. The time, 19:55.
On the face-off, it goes back in the lead zone, and there goes the bell to end the game. Ullman's goal, his 34th from Smith and Henderson at 19:55. The final score then, Toronto 3 and Boston nothing. Gamble getting a shutout. In a moment, our three-star selection and summary. Ladies and gentlemen, here are the three stars of tonight's game as selected by Foster Hewitt. The first star, Bruce Gamble. The second star, Gerry Cheevers. The third star, Floyd Smith.
Well, Foster